welcome to the deep dive. Our mission today is pretty focused. We're decoding the strategic benefits, yes, but also the specific operational needs for getting your content featured on Google News. Because this isn't just about a visibility bump, is it? It's more like fast-tracking your PR and building, well, immediate digital authority.
Exactly. It's about establishing trust almost instantly.
Okay, so let's unpack the scale here first. The sources we looked at are clear. Google News reaches millions. It covers 125 countries, content in over 40 languages. I mean, that's staggering.
It really is. And when you get included, you're not just reaching anyone online. You're reaching a global audience actively seeking news.
Right, the specific vetted audience.
And that's the core value, I think, for you listening. It's trust. When your content gets through that approval process, suddenly it's appearing next to major international news outlets. And that means it's instantly seen as, authoritative, which drives traffic, sure, but maybe more importantly, it builds credibility with readers and with Google itself.
It's like an instant validation. Okay, so for the next few minutes, we'll guide you through the roadmap. We'll look at the ecosystem, the ROI, which is frankly surprising, and then the checklist. The technical and editorial stuff you absolutely have to nail. Let's start with the basics, maybe clear up a common misunderstanding. Google News isn't the same as regular Google search, right?
No, not at all. And that difference is critical. Google News is a specialized engine. Its AI is trained specifically to find, categorize, and prioritize news. Timely stuff, relevant stuff, actual newsworthy events. It's constantly scanning thousands, tens of thousands of sources, and frankly, it rejects most of them if they don't meet those unique journalistic standards.
And the way it processes things is complex, too. It's not just listing links.
Precisely. It's using machine learning to see connections, grouping articles into these sort of cohesive storylines as they develop. And that ability to build a storyline is key. It lets readers explore different angles on a topic, not just see one dominant headline. It looks at timing, sure, but also the source's authority and how relevant it is to that specific topic.
Something that jumped out at me from the sources was how inclusion spreads beyond just the main news page. Once you're in, your content pops up everywhere. We're talking special formatting and regular search results. Google those personalized feeds on phones.
Yeah, Discover's huge.
And Google Assistant voice briefings, even YouTube clips. It cascades.
But here's where it gets really interesting. The channel with the biggest punch is the top stories carousel.
Ah, that's the prime real estate, right? Near the top of the search results for newsy topics.
Exactly. Usually 3 to 5 articles, big thumbnails, right above the normal organic results. It's incredibly prominent.
Getting featured there must be a game changer.
Oh, absolutely. Publishers who land in that spot see an immediate, almost exponential jump in visibility. It's probably the highest leverage placement you can get. It basically guarantees a huge spike in referral traffic for that one story. Turns reporting into, well, a temporary traffic goldmine.
Okay, the mechanics are fascinating, but let's talk brass tacks. How much traffic are we really talking about here? PR pros need numbers to justify the, frankly, intense effort involved.
Yeah.
What's the actual payoff?
The payoff is substantial, yeah. The case studies we reviewed are pretty compelling. Publishers report traffic spikes anywhere from, say, 30% on the low end up to an incredible 200% increase. And that's often within the first month of getting approved.
200% in a month. Wow. That requires some serious scaling on the back end, but it definitely speaks to the platform's power. Do you have a specific example?
Sure. There was one mid-sized tech site focusing on B2C hardware reviews. Before Google News, they were getting maybe 15,000 unique visitors a day, 3 weeks after approval. That jumped to 42,000 daily uniques. It wasn't slow growth. It was like a switch flipped.
A vertical climb.
Pretty much. And critically, another example, a B2B publisher in supply chain analysis. They saw their average session duration, how long people stayed, increased by 85% once their reports started hitting that top stories carousel consistently.
And that session duration increase, that's the key, isn't it? It shows it's not just more traffic, it's high-quality, engaged traffic that actually cares.
Exactly.
Which feeds directly into brand authority.
Yep.
I mean, if your article shows up next to the New York Times or Reuters, users just instinctively trust it more. It feels vetted.
Precisely. And that perceived trust translates into real SEO benefits, too. Other sites become much more willing to cite you, to link back to your articles, because Google News inclusion acts as a kind of validation signal. That means valuable backlinks, strengthening your whole domain.
Okay, let's pivot to monetization. Because high-quality traffic usually means better revenue opportunities, right?
It does. It creates kind of a triple threat for revenue. First, you attract better leads, especially if you're syndicating things like white papers or detailed industry reports. The audience is just more targeted.
Okay.
Second, you generally see higher CPMs on your ad inventory.
No, let's just quickly define CPM for anyone maybe not familiar.
All right, sorry. CPM is cost per mil, basically the cost per thousand ad impressions. Publishers see higher rates, advertisers pay more because Google News traffic is contextually relevant, engaged, and just seen as higher quality than, say, traffic from a random social media share.
Makes sense. Quality in, quality out affects ad value. What's the third part of the threat?
The third benefit is loyalty. Readers finding you through Google News are apparently 3 times more likely to sign up for things like newsletters compared to visitors from other sources. They start seeing you as a go-to source, not just a one-off click.
That's a strong ROI case. Okay, now the hard part, the checklist. Getting in isn't easy. What are the specific standards, technical and editorial, you have to meet, and crucially, keep meeting?
You absolutely have to start with content quality. It boils down to journalistic integrity, really. 2 main things. You must produce verifiable original reporting, not just rehashed stuff. And second, it has to focus clearly on newsworthy events. Avoid content that's mainly promotional or advertorial.
But wait, how good is the filtering on that? Let's say a big brand puts out a slick study that looks like news but is basically marketing.
Yeah.
Does the algorithm catch that consistently?
It's getting much better. Google's really looking at the editorial motivation. If the main point feels like promotion or lead gen, based on the language, the tone, who they cite, the algorithms are increasingly trained to spot that. They'll penalize it or just reject it outright. So yeah, no thinly veiled press releases pretending to be news. That won't fly.
Okay, so original, newsworthy content. What about attribution? Does authorship matter?
Absolutely critical. Every article needs a clearly identified author, a visible byline, and a prominent, accurate publication date. It's about accountability and maintaining genuine editorial independence, separating your newsroom from marketing or sales. That's key for staying in Google's good graces long term.
Got it. Let's move to the technical side, the infrastructure. I imagine site speed and architecture are huge gatekeepers here.
They're the foundation, definitely. First, mandatory use of permanent URLs, permalinks. You need stable links so Google can reliably index and track the authority of a story. If the URL changes, that connection breaks. Second, it's all about mobile-first indexing now. Your mobile site's speed and user experience basically determine your ranking potential. So fast-loading pages, fully responsive design, non-negotiable.
What else is on that baseline technical list? Anything else fundamental?
Yes, HTTPS encryption is a must-have for security and trust. And clean site architecture, clear HTML markup. If Google's crawlers can't easily figure out what's the headline, what's the body text, what's the publication date, they just can't process it effectively, especially in a fast news cycle. And what's really fascinating here is the speed. Traditional SEO, the kind that works over weeks or months, pretty much useless for breaking news. News SEO operates on a much faster timeline. We're talking minutes sometimes.
Minutes? Wow. So how do publishers actually manage that kind of speed? What are the practical tools they're using day to day?
Yeah. Well, you need to be both predictive and reactive. A good starting point is using your own Google Search Console data. See which of your current queries are already showing up in news results. That gives you a baseline. Then, for real-time insights, Google Trends is indispensable. It's like taking the pulse of what's breaking right now. It helps you spot trending topics and queries instantly, so you can jump on a story sometimes before it even hits the mainstream consciousness.
Okay, makes sense. Now, the technical must-haves, specifically for the crawlers, structured data comes up a lot.
Yes, for quick, accurate categorization, you need rigorous, structured data. Using the right schema markup is essential. That means news article schema detailing the headline, the precise publication date and time, the author. And also, implementing organization schema helps Google clearly identify who you are, your publication's credentials. It connects the content back to your EAT profile expertise, authoritativeness, trustworthiness.
And then there's the really unique technical bit, the one that really highlights the speed game, the sitemap process. Let's spend a second here because this sounds operationally intense.
Oh, it absolutely is. You need a dedicated News XML sitemap, completely separate from your main site's sitemap. And this news sitemap should only include articles published within the last 48 hours. That's it, 2 days. And it has to be updated automatically, constantly.
Only the last 48 hours.
That's the rule. That strict 2-day cutoff is how Google ensures it's only indexing truly immediate, breaking news. If a story's older than that, it gets indexed through the regular search process, and it misses that critical window for premium placement like top stories.
The operational challenge there sounds huge, especially for smaller teams.
Yeah.
You basically need a real-time publishing and indexing pipeline running constantly.
Exactly. It forces that immediacy. And looping back to the technical basics, remember speed. Your core Web Vitals scores, things like how fast the main content loads, if the layout shifts around, and just general responsiveness directly impact your chances for that top stories carousel. If your page is slow or clunky on mobile, Google knows that's a bad user experience for breaking news, and they'll just filter you out of that premium spot based on performance.
So user experience is directly tied to that highest value placement. Okay, let's shift gears slightly. Advanced tools. Once you are approved, how can publishers actively manage their presence using Google's own platforms?
The main control hub is the Google Publisher Center. This lets you manage your brand presentation logo, different news sections, metadata. But the killer feature really is fast indexing. Instead of just hoping Google's crawlers find your new story quickly, you can submit it directly through the Publisher Center.
That speed advantage must be critical during a major breaking news event, right?
Yeah.
Getting into the carousel versus missing the wave entirely.
Absolutely crucial for staying competitive. Plus, the Publisher Center gives you detailed analytics. You can see how your content is doing across news, discover, search precisely where users are engaging. That data is invaluable for tweaking your PR strategy over time.
And beyond that control panel, there's also something called the News Showcase program. Sounds a bit more like a partnership.
It is. News Showcase offers this really interesting dual benefit. First, Google actually compensates participating publishers for licensing their content to be used on the platform, so direct revenue. Second, it gives you enhanced visibility through these special designed, visually richer story panels in both Google News and Discover.
Ah, so it stands out more.
Right. And it goes beyond single articles. It lets publishers curate collections of related pieces, providing more context and depth around a topic. Readers seem to really value that deeper engagement.
Okay, so looking long term. What does all this mean for PR strategy? Algorithms are constantly changing. How do you future-proof this kind of effort?
It really comes back to constantly focusing on those EAT principles: expertise, authoritativeness, trustworthiness. In a news context, that means things like showing clear author credentials, having rigorous fact-checking processes, being transparent about opinion versus reported news.
That need for depth and rigor, though, it sounds like it's always fighting against that extreme speed requirement we talked about, the 48-hour sitemap.
That is the central tension, isn't it? Speed versus depth. And complicating it further, Google's made some recent algorithm shifts that really changed the game regarding authority. They're now actively prioritizing diverse perspectives over just a single authoritative voice. Articles that do a good job of synthesizing multiple, well-sourced viewpoints on a topic, they often get better placement now than pieces relying only on, say, traditionally dominant sources. It's a big shift, likely aimed at combating filter bubbles.
So practical adaptation strategies mean things like intentionally diversifying your sources, looking for coverage gaps maybe, experimenting with angles that add nuance rather than just repeating the main narrative.
That's exactly the strategic thinking needed now. And to make sure you're actually hitting those evolving quality bars, you have to relentlessly watch your user engagement metrics. Things like click-through rate from the news feeds, time spent on your site, how much it's shared. Those metrics are your feedback loop. They tell you if your content is genuinely resonating with that specific news audience Google values.
Okay, so to wrap this up for our listeners, getting into Google News seems like this comprehensive feedback loop. You hit those strong editorial standards, which then unlocks technical advantages like fast indexing, premium placements. And those advantages, in turn, drive those really measurable, sometimes transformative results in traffic, authority, and even revenue.
Yeah, and connecting it to the bigger picture. Google's push for diverse perspectives fundamentally changes what authoritative news even means today. Success seems less about just being the biggest name or having the biggest budget, and much more about your ability to synthesize different viewpoints, present a truly well-rounded, nuanced story, and crucially, do it incredibly fast.
It creates such a fascinating operational puzzle. So here's something for you to think about. That tension between the raw speed needed for that 2-day XML sitemap and the journalistic depth required for EAT and capturing multiple perspectives. Which one of those constraints, speed or depth, poses the biggest, maybe most expensive challenge for your content operation? Thanks for joining us for this deep dive.